First, the man from Haiti accused of raping a teenager. He flew to the United States from Haiti legally, using a program that was stood up in the Biden administration to try to disincentivize people from Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela from coming in at the border illegally, so long as they meet certain criteria, including a background check. Now, that program allows for up to 360,000 migrants in total a year. 21 states sued to stop the program, but a Trump-appointed federal judge just last week ruled that those states have no standing, which allows the program to go on. Chris, you have a Biden administration policy. The DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is just celebrating this last week with a Trump judge saying, you know what, we got to keep the thing in place.
Well, Republicans are going to do everything that they can to find every instance of migrants, immigrants committing crimes. They're going to find the most awful crimes. This gentleman has obliged that by committing one of the most despicable acts imaginable. And this will be a motif throughout the election year that you will hear that when these instances, which will tragically occur in a population so large, that we'll hear it again and again. And that is one of the realities of living in an election year.
I think it's going to be effective ultimately. I mean, immigration, the border, this is at the top of voters' minds going into 2024. And I think what you're going to see is the Biden administration being held accountable for their lack of securing the border. This program was to disincentivize. That doesn't mean stop. So
right.
Allowing 30,000 more migrants on top of the 8 million coming over the border illegally, people aren't going to get on board with that.
The thinking was with this program, in part, was if you don't go to the border illegally and you apply legally and meet a background check, have folks in the country vouching for you, then you can come through. To Carly's point, you would say what?
Yeah, I mean, Carly points out the Republican strategy. It's this death by 1,000 cuts, this idea that we're going to continue to point out every crime that migrants have committed as if American, U.S.-born citizens don't commit crimes at a 2.5 times higher rate.
Is that going to be the talking point from Democrats?
It's not going to be. That's the problem, because we can't have an academic conversation with an emotional response. And whenever you're talking about people committing crimes, especially crimes against minors, that's going to evoke an emotional response. And when Democrats start to cite statistics like that, it won't really reach that emotional kind of flexion point that people need to feel understood.
What do you think we'll hear from both sides?
Well, it's tricky because so often the conversation is around legal immigration. This was someone who came in legally and was vetted. But to Chris's point, in a country this big, there are going to be some people who slip through the cracks. And I think we will continue to hear Trump hitting this hard. He's made this a focus of his campaign from the very beginning. I think we'll also hear Democrats reminding voters that Democrats tried to pass a border policy and Republicans, including Trump, pushed back.
What about what Michael said? To the point of, the statistics that he brought up and whether or not that'll resonate.
Michael is exactly right, which is that is not an argument that you can use. You saw how Joe Biden tried to deal with Laken Riley at the State of the Union, right? The Republicans came in wild, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene
handed a button with her name,
just frothing, right, to get that. And Biden tried to get the moment, right? And unfortunately, he kind of flubbed her first name, the victim's first name. But when he said the word illegal, right, then what happened immediately after that? He hammered him. He went for the moment. He went for the moment, which is, I care about this. I'm angry about this too. Members of his own party said, how dare you use that term? No person is illegal. And then Biden had to go around and he went on and MSNBC or mop it up a little bit and try to clean up the thing.
Republicans should be careful, though, overreaching on this. We've heard Republican politicians use language like immigrants should be shot at the border if they're crossing illegally. They could be carrying drugs with calves the size of cantaloupes. That kind of
That's a classic, though. You can't go all the way back to Steve King.
Exactly.
That's vintage.
That kind of language can get them in trouble.
Real quick, Carly, what would you say to him?
Well, what I was just going to say is that the only reason Joe Biden even cared to address that in the State of the Union is because they know they're in trouble in 2024. Democrats have been ignoring this open border problem for so long. The American people are sick of it, and it's not just a crime issue. Drugs, disease, you're seeing all kinds of problems come from the open border. The idea that our foreign adversaries aren't taking advantage of this, our national security is at risk. It's more than just who's committing the crimes. Having an open border is a threat to our country.
So remember, this is a United States program that was just upheld by a Trump-appointed judge, or at least a lawsuit, basically saying states don't have any standing. Thank you for watching, and make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.